Captain Daniel Hayes stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber and felt the weight of 12 alien species staring down at him. The chamber was massive, built to make visitors feel small. It worked. Above him, the council members sat in their elevated platforms, looking down like judges ready to pass sentence. Daniel wore his dress uniform, dark blue with gold trim. He had practiced his speech for weeks. Behind him, the holographic display showed images of Earth. Blue oceans, green forests, cities lit up at night. He wanted them to see humanity as civilized, as worthy. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Daniel began. His voice echoed in the vast chamber. Humanity comes before you today in peace. We seek only to join the community of galactic civilizations. We offer friendship, trade, and cooperation. The Krell ambassador shifted in his seat. Zex Thor was a massive creature, covered in dark scales, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed red in the dim light. He made a sound that the translator converted to laughter. Peace, Zex Thor said. You speak of peace, yet your world's history is written in blood. We have studied your species. Captain Hayes, you have fought over land, resources, and ideas. Your people have killed billions of your own kind. Daniel kept his face calm. We do not hide our past. Yes, humanity has known war, but we have also known growth. We have learned from our mistakes. For the last 2 centuries, Earth has been united. We have ended poverty, disease, and conflict among our own people. High Speaker Moralyn of the Vaishon Empire leaned forward. She was elegant, with silver skin that seemed to glow, and long fingers that moved like water. 2 centuries of peace among your own kind, she said. How remarkable. My people have maintained peace for 20,000 years. The Krell have not seen war in their empire for 15,000. You are children playing at civilization. The other council members murmured in agreement. Daniel felt frustration building in his chest but pushed it down. We understand that we are young compared to your great civilizations. That is why we seek to learn from you. We wish to contribute what we can and grow alongside you. Ambassador Zex Thor stood. His full height was terrifying, nearly 3 meters tall. The council has reviewed your petition. We have studied your world, your technology, and your culture. Our decision is final. Humanity is denied membership in the Galactic Council. Daniel felt the words like a physical blow. May I ask why? You are too dangerous, Moralyn said simply. Your species has not proven itself capable of peaceful coexistence. You are aggressive, unpredictable, and violent. We cannot risk allowing you to spread among the stars. Furthermore, Zex Thor continued, the Council hereby establishes a quarantine zone around human space. Your species will be confined to your current territory. Any human vessel found beyond the designated boundary will be destroyed without warning. You have 20 standard cycles to withdraw all exploration ships and accept your isolation. The chamber fell silent. Daniel looked up at the council members. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked satisfied. Moralyn's expression was neutral, as if she had just announced the weather. This is a mistake, Daniel said quietly. We came in peace. We asked only for a chance to prove ourselves. You have proven yourselves, Zex Thor replied. You have proven that you are not ready. Perhaps in 1,000 years, humanity will have matured enough to join us. Until then, you will remain in your corner of space. Alone. Daniel took a breath. He wanted to shout, to argue, to make them see reason, but he was a captain, and he had his orders. The people of Earth will be disappointed by this decision. We had hoped for friendship. We will comply with your quarantine. But know this, you are making a choice today that you may regret. Zex Thor laughed again, a harsh sound. Are you threatening the council, human? No, Daniel said. I am warning you, humanity does not forget. We do not forgive easily, and we adapt quickly to any situation. You are choosing to make us your enemy, when we wanted to be your friend. Empty words from a primitive species, Moralyn said. She waved her hand dismissively. This session is concluded. Captain Hayes, you will leave Vex Prime within 6 hours. Do not return. Daniel stood straight, gave a formal salute that none of them would understand, and turned to leave. His footsteps echoed on the polished floor as he walked toward the exit. Behind him, he could hear the council members talking among themselves, already forgetting about humanity. The walk back to his ship felt like it took hours. The Horizon was a diplomatic vessel, sleek and unarmed. It sat in the docking bay, surrounded by alien ships that dwarfed it. Daniel's crew was waiting for him. They could see from his face that the news was bad. Captain? Lieutenant Casey Morrison asked. She was young, barely 25. And this was her first deep space assignment. We're leaving, Daniel said. They rejected us. Quarantine protocols are in effect. The crew absorbed this in silence. Then they moved to their stations and began the departure sequence. Within an hour, the Horizon lifted off from Vex Prime and headed for the jump point. What the Galactic Council did not know, what they could not know, was that the Horizon was not alone. 20,000 kilometers away, invisible to every scanner and sensor the galaxy possessed, the USS Wraith maintained its position. Commander Kevin Walsh sat in the command chair of the Wraith and watched the Council proceedings through quantum-linked surveillance feeds. His ship was humanity's greatest secret. Perfect stealth technology that bent light and energy around the hull, advanced weapons that could crack a planet, and most importantly, the ability to observe without being observed. Did you get all that? Kevin asked his intelligence officer. Every word, sir. Lieutenant Pete Sanders replied. Every gesture. Every expression. Full biometric readings on all council members. Kevin nodded slowly. He had served in the Navy for 20 years. He had fought in the resource wars, back when Earth was still divided. He knew what rejection looked like. And more importantly, he knew what contempt looked like. Send everything to Admiral Chen, Kevin ordered. Encrypted on the quantum channel. Let her know that it went exactly as we predicted. Yes, sir. The Horizon made its jump to faster-than-light travel, heading back toward Earth. The Wraith waited 30 seconds, then followed. No one on Vex Prime noticed the slight distortion in space as the warship departed. In the council chamber, Zex Thor was speaking to the other members. That went well, I think. The humans accepted their place without violence. They had no choice, Moreland said. What could they do? Fight the entire galaxy? They are wise enough to know when they are beaten. Still, said the Thaxon representative, a small creature with many eyes. The captain's warning troubles me. Humans are known to be vengeful. Zex Thor waved a massive hand. Let them be vengeful in their little corner of space. They cannot harm us. They do not have the technology or the numbers. In a few generations, they will forget this day and accept their role as a protected but isolated species. The council members agreed and moved on to other business. None of them noticed that humanity had just received the insult they needed. None of them realized that Earth had been preparing for this exact scenario for decades. And none of them understood that the young species they had just dismissed was about to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. On Earth, in a command center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Lisa Chen received Kevin Walsh's transmission. She watched the recording of the council session 3 times. When Zex Thor laughed at humanity's offer of peace, she felt something cold settle in her chest. Lisa had been a soldier for 40 years. She had helped unite Earth's governments. She had overseen the development of humanity's secret fleet. And she had always known this day would come. The galaxy's older species looked at humans and saw primitives. They would learn the truth soon enough. She opened a secure channel to the president. Sir, the council rejected us as predicted. They have established a quarantine and threatened to destroy any human ships found outside our boundaries. President Brandon Scott appeared on the screen. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. Recommendations, Admiral? We proceed to Phase 2. We comply with their quarantine publicly while continuing our shadow operations. We wait for them to make a mistake, and they will. Species this arrogant always do. The president nodded. Approved. Keep our people safe, Lisa. And when the time comes, make sure the galaxy understands what it means to threaten Earth. Yes, sir. The transmission ended. Lisa sat alone in her office and looked at the star map on the wall. Red markers showed human colonies. Blue markers showed explored space, and white markers showed the positions of 17 stealth warships that the galaxy did not know existed. The Galactic Council had made their decision. Soon, very soon, they would learn that it was fatal. 6 months passed. Human ships withdrew behind the quarantine line exactly as ordered. The exploration vessels that had been mapping distant stars returned home. The research stations beyond the boundary were abandoned. To any observer, humanity had accepted its fate. The Galactic Council considered the matter closed. Ambassador Zex Thor gave regular reports on the human situation. All their ships had complied. All their people stayed within the permitted zone. The dangerous species had been contained. The Krell took particular pride in enforcing the quarantine. They sent patrol fleets to the boundary and destroyed anything human that crossed the line. Automated probes were vaporized. Communication beacons were reduced to debris. Each destruction was broadcast across the galaxy as a warning. Commander Vex Kal led one of these patrol groups. He commanded a battle group of 6 warships, each one powerful enough to level a city. Vex Kal was young for a Krell commander, barely 300 years old, but he was ambitious and ruthless. Another probe destroyed, his weapons officer reported. That makes 17 this month. Vex Kal nodded with satisfaction. The humans are testing the boundary. They want to see if we are serious. We must show them that we are. His crew agreed enthusiastically. The Krell had built their empire on strength and discipline. They had no patience for species that did not follow the rules. If humanity wanted to be treated as equals, they should have been stronger. On the human colony world of New Portland, life continued as normal. The colony was small, only 5,000 people. But it was growing. They had good farmland, clean water, and a star that provided steady warmth. The colony sat on the very edge of permitted space, the last human settlement before the quarantine boundary. Dr. Helen Price ran the colony's medical center. She was a skilled surgeon who had volunteered for colony duty because she wanted adventure. She got paperwork instead, but she did not complain. The colonists needed her, and that was enough. Today she was loading medical supplies onto the transport ship Mercy. The ship was scheduled to make a run to an even more distant colony called Far Haven. It was a long journey, nearly 3 weeks, and they needed antibiotics, surgical equipment, and vaccines. That's the last crate, said the ship's captain, Steve Gardner. He was a middle-aged man with a kind face and steady hands. He had been flying transports for 20 years and had never lost a cargo or a passenger. You've got everything? Helen asked. Everything on the list, plus some extras in case Farhaven needs more than they requested. Steve smiled. You know me. I always pack extra. The Mercy was not a military ship. It was a civilian transport, unarmed and slow. It carried medical supplies, food, tools, and mail. This trip it also carried 200 colonists who were relocating to Farhaven to help with their expansion. Among the passengers were 50 children. They ran through the cargo bay playing games, while their parents secured their belongings. Helen watched them and smiled. This was what humanity was building out here. Families, communities, a future among the stars that the galaxy wanted to deny them. The Mercy departed New Portland on schedule. The jump calculations were precise, or so they thought. What Steve Gardner did not know was that a solar flare from New Portland's star had created a small gravity anomaly. It was minor, barely detectable, but it was enough to throw off the jump by a fraction of a percent. When the Mercy emerged from faster-than-light travel, they were 3 light-years beyond the quarantine boundary. Steve realized the error immediately. No, 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 he muttered, checking his navigation. The numbers did not lie. They were outside permitted space. How bad is it? His co-pilot asked. Bad. We're 3 light-years over the line. Steve's hands moved across the controls, calculating jump back to safe space. It will take 10 minutes to charge the drive. Will we have 10 minutes? Steve did not answer. He activated the distress beacon and broadcast on all frequencies. This is the human transport Mercy. We have made a navigation error and crossed the quarantine boundary. This was unintentional. We are a civilian medical transport. We are correcting course now and returning to permitted space. Please acknowledge. The message repeated automatically. Steve worked on the jump calculations while his co-pilot monitored the sensors. The passengers did not know anything was wrong yet. The children were still playing. Commander Vexcal's battle group detected the Mercy 8 minutes after it emerged from jump space. His tactical officer reported immediately. Human vessel detected. Bearing 273. Distance 40 million kilometers. It is beyond the quarantine line. Vexcal leaned forward in his command chair. Ship type? Scanning now. It appears to be a transport. No weapons detected. Low energy signature. It is broadcasting a distress signal, claiming navigation error. End quote. Navigation error, Vexcal repeated. He laughed. How convenient. Intercept course. Maximum speed. Sir, the ship is clearly civilian, and they are already preparing to jump back to their space. Vexcal turned to look at his tactical officer. Are you questioning my orders? The officer lowered his eyes. No, sir. Good. The rules are clear. Any human vessel found beyond the boundary will be destroyed. There are no exceptions for accidents or navigation errors. If we show mercy now, the humans will exploit it. They will send more ships and claim more errors. The battle group accelerated toward the Mercy. Within minutes, they were close enough for visual confirmation. The transport was small, barely 200 meters long. It had the running lights on, and was clearly not trying to hide. Steve saw them coming on his sensors. 6 warships moving fast. His blood went cold. Open all channels, he ordered. Broadcast on every frequency. He spoke clearly and calmly. This is Captain Steve Gardner of the Human Transport Mercy. We acknowledge our navigation error. We are a medical transport carrying civilians, including 50 children. We are not a military vessel. We are unarmed. We are preparing to jump back to human space. Please do not fire. We mean no harm. Commander Vexcal heard the message. He heard the part about children. He did not care. Target the transport. All weapons. Sir, they are surrendering. They have made no hostile moves. I gave an order. The Krell battle group opened fire. Plasma cannons designed to destroy armored warships hit the Mercy's thin hull. The transport had no shields, no armor, no defenses at all. Steve Gardner had time to send one final message. Tell Earth. Tell them what happened here. Tell them we tried to surrender. Then the Mercy exploded. 200 people died in seconds. The debris scattered across space, slowly tumbling in the void. Among the wreckage floated small items. A child's toy. A medical scanner. A family photo. Commander Vexcal watched the destruction and felt satisfied. Broadcast the engagement to all Krell channels. Another human violation dealt with. The quarantine holds. His crew obeyed. Within hours, footage of the Mercy's destruction spread across the Krell Empire. Vexcal was praised for his vigilance. The Council was informed and issued a statement supporting the action. Several member species privately expressed discomfort but said nothing publicly. What none of them knew was that humanity had been watching. Quantum surveillance drones, invisible and undetectable, had recorded everything. The Mercy's distress call. The repeated surrender attempts, the children's screams in the final seconds. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Lisa Chen watched the footage. She watched it once, then twice, then 3 times. She memorized every face in the crew manifest. She read the names of all 50 children. Her hands did not shake. Her voice did not waver. But inside, something cold and hard settled into place. The galaxy had just made its fatal mistake. She opened a secure channel to the president. Brandon Scott appeared on the screen. He looked like he had aged 10 years in the past hour. You've seen it? Lisa asked. Yes. God help us, yes. They murdered civilians, they murdered children, and they are celebrating it. The president closed his eyes. Recommendations? We have a plan for this exact scenario. Authorization code, Phoenix. I need your approval to execute. There was a long pause. Lisa knew what she was asking. Once they started down this path, there would be no going back. But she also knew what she had just witnessed. The galaxy thought humanity was weak. They thought humans would accept any insult, any atrocity, as long as they were allowed to survive. They were wrong. Authorization granted, the president said. But Lisa, I need you to be precise. Proportional. We are not monsters. Understood, sir. We will not become what we fight. The transmission ended. Lisa opened her desk and removed a locked case. Inside was a single data chip, with authorization codes that had been prepared years ago. Codes that would activate weapons and warriors that the galaxy did not know existed. She inserted the chip and began transmitting orders. Across human space, in hidden facilities and secret bases, ships began to wake up. The USS Wraith received new orders. So did the USS Phantom, USS Spectre, USS Shadow, and USS Eclipse. Commander Kevin Walsh read his orders aboard the Wraith. His mission was clear, and his target was specific. Commander Vex Call. The Krell officer who had murdered 200 civilians would face justice. Human justice. Set course for Krell space, Kevin ordered. Full stealth protocols. We are going hunting. The Wraith slipped into faster-than-light travel, invisible as always. Behind it, 4 more stealth ships followed. The Ghost Fleet was going to war. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. On Vex Prime, the Galactic Council continued their regular business. They discussed trade agreements and territorial disputes. They debated scientific exchanges and cultural programs, and they congratulated themselves on successfully containing the human threat. Ambassador Zex Thor gave a speech about the importance of enforcing boundaries. High Speaker Moralin agreed that stability required firm action against those who broke the rules. The other council members nodded and applauded. None of them noticed the quantum distortions that passed through their space. None of them detected the human ships moving through their territory like ghosts, and none of them understood that humanity's patience had just run out. The message that Captain Steve Gardner sent in his final moments reached Earth. It was recorded and added to a file that Admiral Lisa Chen had started. A file of grievances, a file of crimes, a file that would be presented to the galaxy when the time was right. But first, there would be payment. The Krell had taken 200 innocent lives. Humanity would collect that debt in full. And after that, the galaxy would learn what it truly meant to threaten Earth's children. Commander Kevin Walsh had been hunting Commander Vex Call for 3 weeks. The USS Wraith moved through Krell space like a shadow, invisible to every sensor and scanner the Empire possessed. Kevin's orders were specific. Find Vex Call, eliminate him, make it clear why he died. The Wraith was not alone. The USS Phantom and USS Spectre accompanied it, 3 ghost ships moving in perfect coordination. Between them they had enough firepower to devastate a planet, but their mission was more precise than that. This was not about destruction. This was about justice. Lieutenant Pete Sanders sat at the intelligence station, monitoring every Krell communication. I've got him, sir. Commander Vex Call's flagship, the Dominant, is conducting training exercises in the Krell home system. 2 escort destroyers with him. They're running weapons drills near the 4th planet. Kevin studied the tactical display. The Krell home system was heavily defended. Orbital platforms, defense satellites, and patrol ships filled the space around their homeworld. Attacking here would send a message that could not be ignored. Perfect, Kevin said quietly. How long until they complete their exercise? Approximately 4 hours, sir. Then we wait. I want them relaxed and confident. Navigation. Plot an intercept course. We will emerge at point-blank range. Exactly 1,000 meters from the Dominance Bridge. The navigation officer looked up. 1,000 meters? Sir, that's practically touching them. Yes, I want Commander Vex Call to see us before he dies. I want him to know who killed him and why. The crew fell silent. They all knew what was at stake. The Mercy had been destroyed 3 weeks ago. 200 civilians murdered for a navigation error. 50 children killed without mercy. Every member of the Wraith's crew had watched the footage. Every one of them had volunteered for this mission. Captain Nicole Grant commanded the USS Shadow from her position 20 light-years away. Her mission was different but equally important. While Kevin dealt with Vex Kal, Nicole's ship carried specialists and equipment for what came next. Once the Krell understood that humanity could strike anywhere, at any time, the real war would begin. "Status report," Nicole requested. Her tactical officer responded immediately. "We are in position at the designated coordinates. Stealth systems operating at maximum efficiency. No contacts within sensor range. Good. We wait for Commander Walsh to complete his mission. Then we move to Phase 2. Nicole was younger than Kevin, only 32, but she had proven herself in the resource wars. She had commanded submarines in the deep oceans of Earth, hunting enemy vessels in perfect silence. Space was just a different kind of ocean, and stealth was still stealth. Aboard the Dominant, Commander Vex Kal watched his crew run through weapons drills. They were sloppy, inefficient. He barked orders and corrections. The Krell military had grown soft in 15,000 years of peace. They needed this training. "Target destroyed," his weapons officer reported. All plasma cannons fired within acceptable timing. "Acceptable is not excellent," Vex Kal growled. "Reset the targets. We will run the drill again until you achieve excellent results." His crew hurried to comply. Vex Kal settled back in his command chair and allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. His destruction of the human transport had earned him recognition. The High Command was considering him for promotion. Perhaps soon he would command an entire fleet. The thought pleased him. The humans were contained, and he had helped keep them that way. They were a dangerous species, but they could be controlled through strength and fear. It was simple mathematics. The Wraith dropped out of stealth mode exactly 1,000 meters from the Dominant's bridge. One moment there was empty space. The next moment a human warship materialized, its weapons already locked on target. Vex Kal had exactly 2 seconds to understand what he was seeing before Kevin Walsh gave the order to fire. The Wraith carried rail guns that fired projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. Krell shields were designed to stop energy weapons, plasma bolts, and missiles. They were not designed to stop solid metal moving at relativistic speeds. The first projectile hit the Dominant's shield and passed through it like it was not there. The second projectile struck the ship's main reactor. The third hit the bridge. Commander Vex Kal died without knowing what killed him. His ship broke apart in a massive explosion that lit up the Krell home system like a second sun. The 2 escort destroyers tried to return fire, but the Wraith was already moving, diving and weaving through space faster than their weapons could track. The USS Phantom and USS Spectre decloaked on either side of the destroyers. The engagement lasted 90 seconds. When it was over, 3 Krell warships were debris, and the human ghost ships were undamaged. Kevin opened all communication channels, broadcasting on every frequency the Krell used. His message was recorded and transmitted in real time, across the entire Empire. "I am Commander Kevin Walsh of the United Earth Space Force. I command the stealth warship USS Wraith. 3 weeks ago, Commander Vex Kal of the Krell Empire destroyed the human medical transport Mercy. That ship was unarmed. It was carrying civilians. It had committed a navigation error and was attempting to correct course. Commander Vex Kal ignored multiple surrender attempts and murdered 200 innocent people, including 50 children." Kevin paused to let that sink in. Across the Krell Empire, billions watched and listened. Commander Vex Kal is now dead, so are 200 of his crew. This is not revenge, this is justice. You murdered our children. We have taken payment from those responsible. This matter is now settled. Do not force us to collect further debts. The transmission included footage from both incidents. The Mercy's desperate surrender attempts. The children's final moments. And then the destruction of the Dominant. Precise and efficient. The Krell Military Command Center erupted in chaos. How had human ships penetrated to their home system? How had they remained undetected? How dare these primitives strike at the heart of the Empire? High Commander Thexnor watched the footage 3 times. His scales flushed dark with rage. Mobilize the fleet. All ships, every vessel we have. We will crush the humans, once and for all. Sir, we do not know where their ships are. They could be anywhere. Then we go to their homeworld. We destroy Earth itself. Assemble the fleet at staging point Gamma. We launch the attack within the week. Across the Krell Empire, warships received recall orders. Defensive positions were abandoned. Patrol routes were cancelled. Every available ship converged on the staging area. 300 warships, the full might of the Krell military, gathered for one purpose: the complete destruction of humanity. The Krell broadcast their intentions openly. They wanted the humans to know what was coming. They wanted Earth to feel fear before the end. In the Galactic Council chamber, emergency sessions were called. Ambassador Zexthor demanded immediate action. The humans have committed an act of war. They have attacked one of our most respected military officers in his own system. This cannot stand. High Speaker Moralin agreed. The Krell are preparing a retaliatory strike. The Council should support this action. We should perhaps even contribute forces. The human threat must be eliminated before it grows further. Some Council members hesitated. The Thaxan representative spoke carefully. The humans claim they were responding to an unprovoked attack on civilians. Should we not investigate before supporting military action? Investigate what? Zexthor demanded. The humans crossed the quarantine line. The consequences were clear. If we show weakness now, every species will think they can ignore Council authority. The debate continued for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. The Council issued a statement supporting the Krell response. They authorized the use of force to neutralize the human threat. Several member species volunteered ships to join the assault. On Earth, Admiral Lisa Chen watched the Krell fleet gather. She had known this would happen. The war simulations had predicted it perfectly. The Krell were aggressive and prideful. They would mass their forces for one overwhelming strike, expecting to crush Earth through sheer numbers. They did not understand that humanity had stopped fighting that way a long time ago. How many ships are they assembling? She asked. Current count is 296 warships. Intelligence suggests they will reach 300 before they launch the attack. Lisa nodded. And our assets? 27 stealth ships are in position. Another 15 are en route. All captains have received their orders and confirmed understanding. Good. Let the Krell come. Let them bring every ship they have. We will teach them why numbers do not matter when your enemy can see you. But you cannot see them. She opened a channel to Captain Nicole Grant, aboard the USS Shadow. Captain, the Krell are taking the bait. Begin deployment of the defensive grid. Yes, ma'am. Beginning deployment now. The Shadow moved through Earth's outer solar system, releasing hundreds of small objects into carefully calculated orbits. They looked like ordinary space debris, chunks of rock and ice. In reality, they were quantum stealth mines, each one powerful enough to cripple a warship, and each one completely invisible to conventional sensors. Across human space, other stealth ships were doing the same thing, creating kill zones, setting traps, preparing the battlefield for an enemy that thought they were the hunters. Kevin Walsh brought the Wraith back to Earth's defensive perimeter. His mission was complete. Vexcal was dead. The message was delivered. Now came the hard part. The Krell were coming with everything they had, and humanity would have to prove that their stealth technology was more than just a trick. In his quarters aboard the Wraith, Kevin looked at a photo of the Mercy's crew. He had printed out all 200 faces, every name memorized, every life remembered. They had been civilians seeking a better future among the stars. They had died for a navigation error. Now the Krell fleet was coming to finish what Vexcal started. They wanted to sterilize Earth, to make humanity extinct, to prove that primitives had no place in the galaxy. Kevin smiled without humor. The Krell were about to learn a hard lesson. Humanity had been the underdog before. Humanity had faced extinction before. And humanity had always found a way to survive. The Ghost Fleet was ready. The traps were set. And soon, very soon, the galaxy would understand that underestimating Earth was the last mistake anyone would ever make. The Krell Armada arrived at the edge of human space like an avalanche. 300 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. It was the largest military deployment the Krell Empire had launched in 15,000 years. High Commander Thex Nor stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the tactical display with satisfaction. Every ship was in position. Every weapon was armed. Today, the humans would learn the price of defying the Krell. "Begin the advance," he ordered. "Standard battle formation. Shields at maximum. Scan for any human vessels." The Armada moved forward. Their sensors swept space ahead of them, looking for Earth's defensive fleet. They expected to find warships gathered to protect the homeworld. They expected desperate resistance. They expected fear. They found nothing. Empty space stretched before them. No ships, no stations, no defenses at all. Just silence. "Where are they?" Thex Nor demanded. "Where is their fleet?" His tactical officer studied the displays. "No contacts, sir. We are detecting only normal background radiation and stellar debris. They must be hiding. Increase scan intensity. Check for stealth signatures." The Krell fleet pushed deeper into human space. Their confidence began to waver. Why were the humans not defending their home? Had they evacuated? Had they surrendered? 20 light-years away, aboard the USS Shadow, Captain Nicole Grant watched the Krell advance on her tactical display. Each enemy ship showed clearly on her screens. The quantum surveillance network that humanity had built gave her perfect awareness of everything happening within 100 light-years of Earth. "They are entering the kill zone now," her tactical officer reported. Nicole checked the positions. The Krell fleet was spread across 10,000 kilometers of space, maintaining their formation as they advanced. Perfect. Exactly as predicted. "All units. This is Shadow Actual. Stand by for my signal. Wait for optimal positioning." Across the solar system, 27 stealth ships acknowledged. They hung in space, invisible and patient, watching the Krell fleet sail into the trap. The first mine activated when the lead Krell destroyer passed within 50 meters of it. The explosion was massive, far larger than the small device should have produced. The quantum warhead collapsed the ship's shields and tore through its hull. The destroyer broke apart in seconds. Before the Krell could react, 200 mines activated simultaneously. The carefully calculated pattern of detonations ripped through the Krell formation. Ships that had been advancing in perfect order suddenly found themselves surrounded by explosions. "Evasive maneuvers," Thex Nor shouted. "All ships break formation. Return fire." But there was nothing to return fire at. The mines were already gone, their single-use warheads expended, and the Krell sensors still showed no enemy ships. 60 vessels had been destroyed in 3 seconds, and the Krell had not even seen what killed them. Then the real attack began. The USS Wraith decloaked directly in the center of the Krell formation. Commander Kevin Walsh gave his orders calmly and precisely. "All weapons, fire at will. Target the command ships first." The Wraith's railguns spoke. Solid projectiles, moving at impossible speeds, punched through Krell shields like they were paper. The flagship next to Thex Nor's own ship exploded. Then another, then 3 more. Around the Krell fleet, human stealth ships decloaked, fired, and cloaked again before the enemy could target them. It was like fighting ghosts. The Krell fired their weapons at empty space while human ships appeared behind them, destroyed targets, and vanished. "How are they doing this?" Thex Nor demanded. "How can they disappear?" His science officer had no answer. Krell technology could not produce stealth of this quality. No known species could. The humans had developed something entirely new. Something the galaxy had never seen before. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 20 minutes. In that time, the Krell lost 2/3 of their fleet. The survivors broke formation and fled in every direction, desperate to escape the invisible enemy that was tearing them apart. Thex Nor ordered the retreat. His pride shattered, his fleet destroyed. He had no choice. The survivors jumped to faster than light travel and ran for home. The human ghost fleet regrouped near Earth's moon. They had not lost a single ship. Not one casualty. They had faced the full might of the Krell Empire. And crushed it. Without taking a scratch, Admiral Lisa Chen watched the battle from her command center. When the last Krell ship jumped away, she allowed herself a small smile. Then she got to work. This was only the beginning. On Vex Prime, the Galactic Council watched recordings of the battle in stunned silence. Ambassador Zex Thor sat frozen in his seat. High Speaker Moralin's silver skin had lost its glow. How is this possible? One council member whispered. The Krell fleet was annihilated. Amongs? Not just annihilated, another replied. Destroyed without landing a single hit. The humans fought the Krell and took no losses at all. The implications spread through the council like ice water. If humanity could destroy the Krell fleet this easily, what could they do to other member species? What could they do to anyone who opposed them? Moralin stood slowly. She was thinking quickly now, trying to salvage the situation. We underestimated the humans. Clearly they have technology we did not know about. But they are still one species against a galaxy. If we unite, if all member species contribute forces, we can overwhelm them. You want to send more ships to die? The Thaxon representative asked quietly. What choice do we have? If we do nothing, if we show weakness, the humans will think they can dictate to the council. Our authority will collapse. Zex Thor finally found his voice. High Speaker Moralin is correct. We cannot let this stand. The Veshan Empire has the largest fleet in the galaxy. If the Veshan lead a united response, the humans will have no choice but to surrender. Moralin considered this carefully. The Veshan fleet was massive, over 500 warships, including their enormous dreadnoughts. Each dreadnought was the size of a small city, carrying enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. Surely even human stealth technology could not defeat such overwhelming force. Very well, she said. I will recommend to my government that we take action. But I will need the Council's full support. If the Veshan fleet moves against Earth, every member species must contribute what they can. The vote was called. Most species agreed, though several abstained. The decision was made. The Veshan Empire would assemble an armada that would make the Krell deployment look tiny by comparison. And this time, the humans would face not just warriors but the full industrial might of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful civilization. Admiral Lisa Chen received intelligence reports on the Veshan mobilization within hours. She read through the details carefully. 500 warships, 20 dreadnoughts, support vessels beyond counting. And at the center of it all, High Speaker Moralin's personal flagship, a vessel so large it had its own gravity. They are making the same mistake, Lisa said to her staff. They think numbers and size matter more than technology and tactics. Should we attempt diplomacy? One of her aides asked. Perhaps if we demonstrate our strength, they will reconsider. Lisa shook her head. We already demonstrated our strength against the Krell. They saw what happened and decided to send more ships. No. Diplomacy is over. The galaxy has chosen to see humanity as a threat. Now we show them what a real threat looks like. She opened a secure channel to 3 ships. The USS Eclipse, and 2 vessels designated Raven 1 and Raven 2. These were not warships. They were something different, something humanity had built but hoped never to use. Captain Ryan Carter commanded the Eclipse. He was the oldest ship captain in the fleet, nearly 60, with gray hair and scars from the resource wars. When he received his orders, he read them twice to make sure he understood. We are going to Veshan Prime? His executive officer asked. Yes. We are going to the Veshan homeworld, and we are going to make them an offer they cannot refuse. The Raven ships were smaller than regular warships, designed for a single purpose. Each carried a quantum disruptor array, a weapon that could disable every electronic system on a planet's surface. It was a weapon of terror, meant to show an enemy that their cities, their shields, Their entire civilization could be turned off like a light switch. Earth had never used quantum disruptors in combat. The moral implications were too severe. But the Veshon were mobilizing to destroy Earth, to make humanity extinct. And desperate times required desperate measures. The three ships slipped into Veshon space completely undetected. They passed through defensive perimeters that had protected the Empire for 20,000 years. They moved past patrol fleets and sensor networks, and they took up position in high orbit above Veshon Prime, the heart of the Empire, home to 15 billion souls. Captain Greg Foster commanded Raven 1. He was young for such responsibility, only 35, but he had earned his command through brilliance and dedication. Now he sat in his chair and looked at the beautiful world below. Glittering cities, orbital platforms, millions of ships moving in orderly traffic patterns. He opened a channel directly to High Speaker Maura Lynn. High Speaker. This is Captain Greg Foster of the United Earth Space Force. I am currently in orbit above your homeworld. My ship carries weapons that can disable every electronic system on Veshon Prime. Your shields will fail. Your power grids will collapse. Your cities will go dark, and your world will be defenseless. On the surface, in her government complex, Maura Lynn felt her blood run cold. You are bluffing. Our sensors would have detected you. Look at your orbital display. I am transmitting my position now. A marker appeared on the Veshon Defense Network. A human ship, sitting in high orbit, exactly where Foster claimed. Maura Lynn's security forces scrambled to respond. But before they could, two more markers appeared. 3 human ships above the Veshon homeworld. This is an act of war, Maura Lynn said, but her voice shook. No, Foster replied. An act of war is mobilizing 500 ships to destroy a planet because they defended themselves. An act of war is supporting the murder of civilian transports. High Speaker. You have one choice. Order your fleet to stand down immediately, or I will activate the quantum disruptor. Your world will sit in darkness for 72 hours while humanity decides whether to show you the same mercy you showed the mercy. Maura Lynn looked at her advisors. They were terrified. The Veshon Empire had existed for 20,000 years. It had never been threatened like this. Their entire civilization was being held hostage by 3 ships they could not even detect until it was too late. If I give that order, my government will fall. My people will see it as surrender. Then your people will live to rebuild. If you refuse, 15 billion Veshon will sit in the dark, wondering if the next thing they see is human warships glassing their cities. Your choice, High Speaker. You have 60 seconds. Maura Lynn closed her eyes. Pride, power, and authority meant nothing when your homeworld was at the mercy of an enemy you had dismissed as primitive. She opened a channel to her fleet command. This is High Speaker Maura Lynn. All Veshon military forces are to stand down immediately. Recall the fleet. End all offensive operations against humanity. The response was immediate. High Speaker, we are ready to launch. We have overwhelming force. I gave an order. Stand down. Now. Across Veshon space, 500 warships received recall orders. Crews that had been preparing for glory were told to return to port. The greatest military mobilization in Veshon history ended before it began. Captain Greg Foster watched the fleet movements on his displays. They are complying. All ships returning to dock. Do not activate the disruptor? His weapons officer asked. No, we made our point. Foster opened the channel to Maura Lynn one final time. Thank you for making the right choice, High Speaker. Humanity seeks peace, but we will accept nothing less than respect. Remember this day. Remember that we could have destroyed your world and chose mercy instead. Perhaps next time, you will extend the same courtesy to us. The 3 human ships cloaked and departed. They left no trace of their passage. But across the Veshon Empire, billions understood that everything had changed. The young species from Earth had just held their entire civilization hostage and walked away without firing a shot. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. Humanity could be defeated, but underestimating them was fatal. The news spread across the galaxy in hours. The Veshon Empire, the oldest and most powerful civilization in the known universe, had stood down. Human ships had appeared above their homeworld and forced them to recall their fleet without firing a single shot. The implications were staggering. On hundreds of worlds, governments held emergency meetings. Species that had laughed at humanity's petition 6 months ago now scrambled to reassess their positions. If the humans could defeat the Krell fleet and intimidate the Veshon Empire, what could they do to anyone else? In the Galactic Council chamber, chaos reigned. Ambassador Zex Thor shouted at High Speaker Moralin. Other representatives argued among themselves. The carefully maintained order that had governed the galaxy for millennia was crumbling. Admiral Lisa Chen watched it all from her command center on Earth. The quantum surveillance network provided her with perfect intelligence. She could see every ship movement, every communication, every panicked debate. The galaxy was learning fear, and she felt no sympathy. "Ma'am, we are receiving communication requests from 17 different species," her aide reported. "They all want to negotiate." "Let them wait," Lisa said. "First, we make our position clear. Then we will talk." She composed a message carefully. It would be broadcast on every frequency the galaxy used. It would be heard by every civilization, every government, every species that had dismissed humanity as primitive. The message was simple and direct. Lisa appeared on screens across the galaxy, wearing her admiral's uniform, her expression calm but firm. "I am Admiral Lisa Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. I speak for all of humanity. 6 months ago, we came to the Galactic Council in peace. We asked only to be recognized as equals and allowed to participate in galactic civilization. You rejected us. You quarantined us. You threatened to destroy any human ship that crossed an arbitrary line you drew around our space." She paused, letting the words settle. "We accepted your decision. We withdrew our ships as ordered. We complied with your restrictions. And then you murdered 200 of our civilians, including 50 children, for a navigation error. When we responded by eliminating only those directly responsible, you declared war on our entire species. The Krell mobilized 300 warships to destroy Earth. The Veshon prepared 500 more. You intended genocide. On Vex Prime, the council members watched in silence. Several looked ashamed. Others looked angry. None looked away. Here is humanity's position. The quarantine is ended. Human ships will travel where we choose, when we choose. Any act of aggression against human vessels or citizens will be met with immediate and overwhelming retaliation. We do not seek your permission. We do not ask for your approval. We are informing you of reality." Lisa's voice hardened. "But there is one more matter to address. Those who authorized and celebrated the murder of our civilians must face justice. Ambassador Zex Thor, you publicly supported Commander Vexcal's action. You praised the destruction of the Mercy. You voted to support further military action against humanity. You are a war criminal, and you will stand trial." Zex Thor stood in the council chamber, his scales flushed dark with rage. "You cannot dictate to the Galactic Council. You are one species. We are hundreds. You may have superior technology, but you cannot fight the entire galaxy." Lisa smiled without warmth. "You are correct. We cannot fight the entire galaxy. But we do not need to. We only need to demonstrate that attacking Earth is suicide, and we have done that. The question now is whether the galaxy wishes to continue testing our resolve, or whether you are ready to accept reality." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, billions processed what they had just heard. The humans were not asking for equality. They were taking it. And they had the power to enforce their demands. On Vex Prime, the council convened an emergency session. The debate was fierce. Some species argued that giving in to human demands would set a dangerous precedent. Others pointed out that the alternative was war with an enemy that could strike anywhere and remain invisible. High Speaker Moralin finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. "I have made many mistakes. I dismissed humanity as primitive. I supported actions that led to innocent deaths. I authorized military force when diplomacy should have been tried. And my world paid the price. We sat in darkness while human ships held us hostage. I do not wish that experience on anyone here. She turned to look at Ambassador Zex Thor. The humans are right. What was done to the Mercy was murder. We called it enforcement. But it was murder. And we celebrated it. If we wish to call ourselves civilized, we must acknowledge our crimes and accept the consequences. The vote was called. It was not unanimous, but it was clear. Ambassador Zex Thor and 3 other council members, who had publicly supported the Mercy attack, would stand trial. The charges were crimes against sentient beings. The penalty would be determined by galactic law. But humanity had one more demand. The trial would not be held on Vex Prime. It would be held on Earth, with human judges and human law. The galaxy could observe, but humanity would administer justice for crimes committed against humanity. Zex Thor was placed in custody. He did not resist. His empire had already informed him that he would receive no support. The Krell people, shocked by the destruction of their fleet, wanted peace with humanity at any cost. The trial took place 3 months later in Geneva, the city where Earth's governments had first united. The proceedings were broadcast across the galaxy. Billions watched as human prosecutors presented evidence, footage of the Mercy's destruction, recordings of surrender attempts, testimony from families of the victims. Zex Thor was allowed to defend himself. He argued that he was following council policy. He claimed that he did not know the Mercy was a civilian transport. He said that he believed humanity posed a genuine threat. The judges listened to everything. Then they deliberated for 3 days. When they returned, their verdict was clear. Guilty on all charges, but the sentence was not execution. It was not torture. It was exile. Zex Thor and the other convicted war criminals would live the rest of their lives on a remote world. Isolated, but comfortable. They would have food, shelter, and access to information, but they would never return to their homes. They would spend their remaining years contemplating the consequences of their choices. It was mercy, but it was also justice. Very human, as many observers noted. 6 months after the trial, the galaxy operated under a new order. The Galactic Council had been reformed. Humanity held a permanent seat with full voting rights. The quarantine was officially ended and apologized for. Trade agreements were signed. Cultural exchanges began. Captain Daniel Hayes, who had stood before the Council a year ago and been rejected, returned to Vex Prime as Earth's official ambassador. He walked into the same chamber where he had been humiliated and took his seat among equals. Commander Kevin Walsh kept the Wraith on patrol. The Ghost Fleet remained active, still invisible, still vigilant. Earth would not disarm. Trust had to be earned. And that would take time. On the colony world of Farhaven, the destination the Mercy had been trying to reach, a memorial was built. 200 names were carved in stone, including the 50 children who had died. The inscription read simply, "They sought only to help others. They died for a navigation error. Their sacrifice purchased a peace that will endure." Admiral Lisa Chen stood before that memorial and read each name. She had memorized them all. Every face, every story, every life that had been stolen by casual cruelty and arrogance. She thought about the path that had led here. The rejection, the murder, the war that almost was, and the peace that emerged from the edge of extinction. It had been a close thing. If the galaxy had united fully against Earth, even human technology might not have been enough. But they had not united. Fear had divided them. And in that division, humanity had found its opportunity. President Brandon Scott asked her once if she thought the peace would last. Lisa had considered carefully before answering. As long as they remember what happened when they underestimated us. As long as they understand that we can strike anywhere and remain unseen. As long as they know that humanity chooses mercy but can deliver destruction. Yes, the peace will last. Across the galaxy, new relationships formed. Human merchants traded with alien worlds. Human scientists collaborated with species that had been studying the universe for millions of years. Human artists shared their culture, and human students learned from civilizations older than Earth's oldest pyramids. But every species that dealt with humanity remembered the lesson. The Krell remembered their fleet burning in space. The Vaishon remembered sitting in darkness while their world hung defenseless. And everyone remembered the trial, the evidence, and the calm human voices explaining why murder was unacceptable regardless of who committed it. In deep space, beyond the normal shipping lanes, a human transport ship passed a Krell patrol vessel. Both ships continued on their courses, but the Krell captain opened a channel and transmitted a simple message: safe travels. The human captain responded in kind, and to you, it was a small moment, insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but it represented something new. Not friendship, not yet, but respect. Recognition that both species had a right to exist and move through the galaxy. Commander Kevin Walsh sat in the Wraith's command chair and watched the exchange on his monitors. He thought about Commander Vex Kal, the Krell officer he had killed. There was no pleasure in that memory, only necessity. Vex Kal had murdered children, and justice had been served. But the current Krell captain was different. He showed courtesy. He acknowledged human ships as equals. That was progress. That was the future humanity had fought for. The Ghost Fleet continued its patrol. Earth remained protected by invisible guardians that could strike anywhere without warning. But those guardians rarely needed to act now. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Captain Daniel Hayes concluded his first address to the reformed Galactic Council with words that would be remembered for generations. Humanity did not seek conflict with the galaxy. We wanted cooperation, understanding, and peace. But when you forced us to choose between extinction and survival, we chose survival with every tool and weapon at our disposal. We proved that underestimating us was fatal. We proved that threatening our children was suicide, and we proved that even in victory, we could choose mercy over revenge. He paused and looked at each council member in turn. We are here now as equals. Not because you granted us that status, but because we took it. Not through conquest, but through strength. Not through cruelty, but through justice. We ask nothing more than respect and friendship. But we will accept nothing less. The age of casual cruelty to lesser species has ended. A new era begins today. Let us build it together and ensure that what happened to the Mercy never happens to anyone again. The council chamber was silent. Then, slowly, one by one, the representatives stood. It was a gesture of recognition, perhaps even respect. The humans had won their place not through pleading but through power, and now that they had it, they offered partnership instead of domination. High Speaker Moralyn approached Daniel after the session. Your species is remarkable, she said quietly. In 20,000 years of Veshan history, we have never encountered anyone quite like you. Is that a compliment or a concern? Daniel asked. Both, she admitted. You are dangerous, but you are also just. You have power, but exercise restraint. I hope your example influences the galaxy for the better. So do we, Daniel replied. We did not want this war, but we will not forget those who died in it. And we will not allow their deaths to be meaningless. He returned to Earth that night. The blue planet hung in space, beautiful and fragile. 300 human warships had defended it. 27 ghost ships had secured its future. And 200 civilians had paid with their lives for the galaxy's arrogance. The galaxy had made its decision when it quarantined humanity. Humanity had made its decision when it decloaked. Now both had to live with the consequences and build something better from what could have been mutual destruction. Admiral Lisa Chen stood in her command center and looked at the star map. Red markers still showed human colonies. Blue markers showed explored space. But the white markers, the positions of the Ghost Fleet, were now supplemented with green markers, showing allied species, trading partners, and new friends. The quarantine was over. The war was ended. And humanity's place among the stars was secure. not because anyone had granted it, but because Earth's children had demanded it with courage, skill, and the strength to enforce their refusal to be victims. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Young species could be dangerous when threatened. Primitive civilizations could possess advanced technology. And underestimating humanity was the last mistake anyone would make. The future was uncertain. Trust would take time to build. Old prejudices would not disappear overnight. But the foundation was laid. Humanity walked among the stars as equals now, and that equality was written not in treaties but in the memory of what happened when the galaxy tried to deny it. Commander Kevin Walsh powered down the Wraith's weapon systems, but kept the stealth generators running. The Ghost Fleet would remain hidden, watching, protecting, because peace was precious and hard-won, and Earth would never again trust its survival to the mercy of others. The stars shone bright above Earth. Humanity reached toward them with hope now instead of fear. And throughout the galaxy, billions understood that a new age had begun, an age where respect was earned through strength, where justice was demanded regardless of cost, and where even the youngest species could teach the oldest ones that survival meant being willing to fight when no other choice remained. The Mercy's 200 souls had not died in vain. Their deaths had purchased recognition, respect, and a place for all humanity among the infinite stars. It was a terrible price, but from it grew a peace that would protect billions yet unborn from the same casual cruelty that had taken their lives. Earth had decloaked. The galaxy had realized too late that its decisions were fatal, and now both worked together to ensure that such mistakes would never be repeated. It was not a perfect peace, but it was real, hard-won, and built on the understanding that every species deserved respect and that threatening humanity's children was a line that should never be crossed.